All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. At this time, I would like to call to order the June 26, 2025 regular board meeting of North County Transit District. Before we begin, members of the public who may be viewing the meeting on the district's YouTube page, please note that in order to make a public comment during the meeting, you must connect to the meeting using the Zoom link provided on the agenda. In addition, you must also register by sending an email containing your name or phone number and the agenda item on which you wish to speak to clerk@nctd.org. Suhail Rodriguez, clerk of our board, will take a verbal roll call for attendance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair Bat Patel.
Here.
Vice Chair Sanella.
Here.
Board Member Martinez.
Here.
Board Member O'Hara. Board Member Garcia.
Here.
Board Member Joyce.
Present.
Board Member Desmond.
Here.
Board Member Edson.
Present.
Board Member Contreras.
Present.
Board Alternate Lee. This completes the roll with Board Member O'Hara and Board Member Lee absent.
All right, thank you. Board Member Contreras, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Suhail will now provide a safety brief and review evacuation procedures.
In case of an emergency, I will dial 911. In case of an evacuation, please take the stairs. Do not use the elevators. Once clear to the building, do not re-enter unless cleared to do so by emergency personnel. There are fire extinguishers and first aid kits on each floor of the building. There's a portable defibrillator on the first floor and staff on hand trained on CPR procedures if needed. This concludes my safety brief.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. Slide 3 in attachment 15A was changed to better reflect stop level ridership along Breeze Route 323. A revised agenda and an errata sheet was sent to the board and has been updated on our website for public inspection.
Great, thank you. And now we'll move on to public communications. Do we have any general public comments today?
Yes, Madam Chair. We do have 2 in-person public speakers here today. I will call on the first one, Ms. Joan Brown. Ms. Brown, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Joan Brown, and I've been taking North County Transit for approximately 10 years. And as a impaired eyesight person, I would like to suggest several things. We need a better lineup in the strip malls to go from the Sprinter and the buses too, to get to each other, the bus from the Sprinter to the bus and vice versa. And some of them do, and some of them, like I'm in San Marcos now. I lived in Oceanside for 20 years. May I ask who's representing Oceanside now? Is that O'Hara? Deputy Mayor. Oh, Deputy Mayor, thank you. This is the 2 lines that I'd like to suggest. More stops. It's a 347 that goes from Palomar Airport, Palomar College to UC San Marcos. And there is absolutely no stops at all on San Marcos Boulevard. Maybe 1 on each side, and they go nowhere. And you have all those stores, all those offices, blood things, and nothing stops there. You have to walk practically a half an hour, 3 blocks to get to any stop. And you have 5 lights on all of these streets, so the bus has to stop anyway. So why there are not more bus stops? And then the line 353, I believe, that goes up Nordahl. Nordahl has no stops, and it passes on and off ramps for the freeway and it should have about 4 stops because there are 4 driveways. So I would suggest that the bus stops there, because the bus stops 2 blocks up from Nordall, where no one lives, there are no stores, so you have to walk down to Walmart and everything. And that's why that bus is always empty. And I'd like to see you make more money by more passengers. And in the same way, I can say about the campus marketplace and the Creekside marketplace really needs public transportation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. The next speaker I will call is Maria Campos. Board Chair, with your permission, may I translate for the speaker?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
And for the record, Board Alternate Coleman has arrived at 2:04.
Buenas tardes. Yo vengo por la ruta el 604,
She's here to
Y
speak on Route
334.
604.
que ya según ya lo descontinuaron,
¿Cuál número?
el 334.
And 334,
Ya.
which has been discontinued.
Todavía la otra semana estaban los stop, ya los quitaron.
Sí.
Y mucha gente lo estaba esperando después.
She says passengers were at the stop waiting for the bus, even though it was discontinued.
Y muchas personas lo necesitan para niños de la escuela,
Many people need this route for their children going to school,
de la middle school.
from middle school.
Ajá. Y personas que vienen al mandado a la Vista Village ya no tienen bus.
And people that go use this route for Vista Village to do the grocery shopping cannot use this route.
Y ahora pues no sé qué va a pasar con esa ruta de bus. ¿Lo van a poner para atrás o ya completamente se va a descontinuar o qué va a pasar?
And she's asking if there's in the future an opportunity for this route to be reinstated.
Otra, que el 304 anteriormente estaba saliendo en un sketch más. Estaba a la hora de los 23 del Palomar hacia Encinitas.
And regarding Breeze
Ese
304,
sketch estaba correcto para el tren que llega de Vista y el que viene para hacia Oceanside. O sea, los 2 trenes colectaban con esos viajes.
and
y
now
ahora
Breeze
no.
304 doesn't have proper connectivity to the Sprinter trains.
Y ahora no colectan porque esa gente tiene que esperar hasta el siguiente bus.
And now people are having to wait longer to take their trains.
Ajá. Entonces, pues es lo que no coinciden los sketches. Necesitan cambiar el sketch también del sprint.
And she proposes schedules be aligned with Sprinter connectivity.
Ya. Y aquí traigo las firmas de...
Okay.
Que
And she has signatures petitioning for this route to be reinstated. Señora Campos, alguien va a hablar con usted ahora, allá afuera. Ok, muchas gracias. Oh. Señora Campos, ¿cuántas firmas tiene? She hasn't counted. No, está bien, gracias. We can get that for you.
Do we have any other speakers?
No further speakers.
Okay, to both the speakers, we do have planning staff available to follow up with each of them. So I think some of them are doing that right now, and then of course can do that as a follow-up as well. So just so that the rest of the board is aware, that's what we were discussing, so that we could make sure that they got those questions answered. Okay, so no other speakers at this time, right?
That's correct.
Perfect. All right. So at this time, public registration to provide general public comment will end. Before we proceed, I have a couple of quick protocol items to share. First, I will ask board members to hold your comments and questions until after each agenda item has been presented. When the time comes for board member questions or comments, please raise your hand and wait until you're called upon to speak. And then, of course, turn on and speak into your microphone when it is your turn to speak. This will ensure that your comments are heard for those listening to the meeting online. And then lastly, when it's time to vote, Sohail will call a verbal vote. The first item is the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting of May 15th, 2025?
So moved, Edson.
Second, Sanala?
Great. Motion by Edson, seconded by Sanala. Sohail, can we please call the vote?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On the motion of Board Member Edson, seconded by Board Member Sinella, to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting on May 15, 2025. Motion passes, O'Hara absent.
Thank you. We're moving on to our consent items. There are 13 items on consent for action today. Are there any members of the public registered to speak on consent or requested that any of the items be pulled?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, great, thank you. At this time, we are ending the public registration to speak on consent items. Do any board members wish to pull items from consent? Board Member Martinez?
So I don't necessarily wish to pull, but I just wanted some clarification on item 8, the quarterly customer experience report.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so just one that caught my eye, which was on the feedback for Lyft was higher in the quarter report at Q3 last year. I just wanted to learn more about, I guess, one, the issues in this was concerning to me. One was the paratransit and feedback on that and safety and security issues. And it seems to me, if I'm remembering all the information, that the Lyft was probably not meeting all of the goals that were set for in the performance report, for instance. So there could be a correlation. But I was more concerned about learning a little bit more about the paratransit related feedback of safety and security issues. Don't have to give it to us now if that's not available. But I would like to understand what those issues were and what the follow-up is.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in general, whenever we receive a customer, a piece of customer feedback, the customer service team receives it, does research to confirm if it's a substantiated comment or unsubstantiated. And then regardless, we do reply to the reporting party to make sure that they understand that their request was heard and responded to. I can follow up on the specificity of those 3 safety pieces of feedback from Lyft, and we can get that to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion.
Second, Contreras.
All right, great. So motion by Garcia, seconded by Contreras. Can we go ahead and call a vote?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? On the motion of Board Member Garcia, seconded by Board Member Contreras, to approve consent items 1 through 13, O'Hara absent, motion passes.
Great, thank you. We will now go on to other business items on the agenda. The next item will be a brief overview of the fiscal year 26 operating budget and fiscal year 26 through 30 CIP. If you recall, NCTD provided a very extensive overview of the budget at the May board meeting. Today, staff is asking the board to consider the adoption of the budget. Yoon Park Lynch, Chief Financial Officer, will provide a brief presentation, and I'll go ahead and pass it off to her.
Thank you, Board Chair. Good afternoon, board members. As the chair mentioned, at the May 15 board meeting, staff provided an update on the development of the operating budget as well as the significant assumptions for revenues and expenses. The budget presented at the board meeting total $178,805,577. The budget that we are proposing for adoption remains balanced at the same amount. We have made some adjustments at the line item levels. However, the budget remains at the same amount that we presented at the May meeting. The 5-year plan, this is a summary of where the operating budget sits for the next coming fiscal year. The 5-year plan is a reflection of the projected revenues and expenses in the next 5 fiscal years. It provides an overview of the different categories of revenues for fare collection, non-transportation revenues, auxiliary revenues, and all the other grants that we receive at the federal, state, and local level. It also makes projections on the use of funds for a capital improvement program, as well as preventive maintenance and operating expenses. As you can see in this slide, NCTD will have balanced budgets for the next fiscal years, for fiscal year 2026, 2027. However, beginning in fiscal year 2028, NCTD will face deficits absent new revenue sources or significant reductions in our operating expenses and our capital program as well. The full budget document was made available to the public on June 10th. for public inspection and for review by the board as well. So today, we are coming to the board to request the following action items. We are requesting to close the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2026 operating budget, as well as the capital improvement program for the next 5 fiscal years, and adopt the employee classification and compensation schedules, the cost recovery schedule, as well as the service implementation plan. And that concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Great, thank you. So do we have any public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. At this time, public registration to speak on this item will end. Are there any board member questions or comments regarding this agenda item? I'm just giving it a moment, since usually we do, but it looks like everyone seems satisfied from last time we had an extensive discussion. So thank you so much for all the hard work. I know that this takes a lot of time and effort. It takes months and months of planning. So I just want to say thank you to everyone involved. Obviously, you always do an amazing job. So really looking forward to seeing this move forward and get operationalized. But in that regard, do I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved, Edson.
I'll second.
Motion by Edson, seconded by Joyce. Can we go ahead and call the vote? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? And for the record, Jim O'Hara arrived at 2:15. Thank you.
My apologies for showing up late.
It's okay, thank you. And the motion of Board Member Edson, seconded by Board Member Joyce, to adopt the proposed FY26 operating budget and FY26 to 30 capital improvement program, approve the proposed employee classification and compensation schedule, the proposed cost recovery fee schedule, and the SIP, or Service Implementation Plan. Motion passes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
The last item on the agenda relates to a public hearing on the proposed elimination of a breeze route. Katie Persons, Director of Service Planning, will provide a presentation, and I'll go ahead and pass it off to her.
Great, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Today we'll be asking the board to set a public hearing for the proposed elimination of Breeze 323. For context, we regularly review route performance to ensure the district is intentional with our operational resources. NCTD's Service Design Guidelines is a document that service planning uses as a guidance for performance monitoring and service adjustments that need to be made over time. NCTD has identified service that is underperforming, which is the subject of this proposed service change. This map shows the subject route in orange, Breeze 323, with the surrounding routes in the area in blue. The 323 provides weekday hourly service between College Boulevard Sprinter Station and Quarry Creek. Breeze 323 has approximately 67 daily boardings. The gray circles on the map show stops with between 0 and 1 daily boarding. The larger, darker pink circles mean more boardings at that stop. Generally, the route sees the most daily boardings at Oceanside Boulevard and Avenida del Oro, which is served by the 315, 318, and 325, and the nearby College Boulevard Sprinter Station. North-south connections in this area is available between the Route 315 and 325, while east-west connections are available through the 318 and the Sprinter. El Camino High School is more directly served by Breeze 311 and 313, with trippers scheduled around bell times. The goal of our public outreach with setting this public hearing is to validate the ridership trends that we're seeing in our data and then make adjustments from there. Last fiscal year, Breeze 323 had approximately 17,000 total riders in the year, amounting to the average weekday boardings of 67. This table compares the 323 to the routes in the surrounding area, with the next highest performing route serving twice as many riders as the 323. The 323 accounts for 0.3% of total Breeze ridership. NCTD has a web page dedicated to the proposed modifications with instructions on how to provide public comment via phone, email, or mail, or in person. We've also pushed out rider alerts to trip planning apps like Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Transit app with information about the proposed change and a link to our webpage. A legal notice was posted in English and Spanish newspapers notifying the public of the hearing. Because the 323 is not anchored by a major transit station, we opted to conduct ride-alongs instead of pop-up events to gather feedback and give information to the public on how to provide public comments. Bilingual planning staff were on board with informational flyers that provided information on how to provide comments and a general overview of the proposed change. With that, the staff recommendation is to set a public hearing at the July Board of Directors meeting for the proposed elimination of Breeze 323. And that concludes my presentation.
Great, thank you for the presentation. Do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, at this time, public registration to speak on this item will end. Are there board member questions or comments regarding this item? I'll start with Board Member Joyce.
Thank you, and thank you for meeting with me yesterday to talk about this route. I noticed the ride-alongs, and I'm sorry that I didn't bring these forward ahead of time. These were after having conversations with community members today. The ride-alongs weren't during that time when kids would get out of school. And our setting the date in July misses all the riders that would be there using it after school. And it is right there on the corner of the school property. So my request would be for us to delay the hearing until the fall when the schools are actually utilizing this route so that we can get a full understanding of who's impacted. While I do know the other two routes that go by the school and they service the student areas that are to the north of the school, this is the only one, to my knowledge, that goes to the Tri-City area, and there are students who attend in that area. So my request to the board would be to delay this until we are able to gather data during the school session, because I am worried about that being a primary impact of this route. Yes, that's my motion.
Thank you. I think I saw Board Member, did you have your hand raised up, Board Member Garcia? Okay. Sure, and then I'm going to go to Board Member Edson and then Board Member Contreras.
I agree with my colleague. I think we should look at during school times the impact for that. And then I have a question, but that's on a different, or you can raise it. Or can I second? Yeah. Hold on. That's what I need to do, second first.
Great.
I hereby second. All right, backstep.
you.
And then just to support that, I think that it's a good idea that we do that.
Thank you. Board Member Edson.
I was going to third that, but also I did have a question. Route 323 elimination, so I read that it was suspected that most riders were taking 323 between service times for more or less redundant other routes. So if that is the case, would it make sense to add additional trips on other redundant routes when we look at, when we take a look at this again?
Mm-hmm.
I just think makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd want to have that as the goal of the public outreach, is to understand where we might be able to make adjustments to the nearby routes to better serve folks that are taking the 323 currently.
Unless we don't end up eliminating
Correct.
it, obviously. Okay, thanks.
Board Member Contreras.
Yeah, I was in line to second that one too, so it looks like you got a lot of board support. I have a question. So I'm looking at the staff report, the agenda report. The net cost per passenger looks at like 29.92. How does that compare with the net cost per passenger for NCTD Plus?
That is a great question. I do not have that.
It's okay if you don't have it.
But we can follow
I
up
put
with
you
that,
right
yeah.
on the spot.
So, yeah, I will say NCTD Plus costs are typically higher as it's an on-demand service. The benefits of NCTD Plus are we're able to reach populations that we can't necessarily with fixed route, and it also provides that first last mile connection. So we do consider them different services, but it is typically higher than a traditional Breeze route, and we can definitely get that information for you.
Yeah, I'm curious to see that because it looks like the net cost per passenger for if you average the entire ridership for all Breeze is at $14. I can't remember what the cost is for NCTD Plus, but and I know that we haven't rolled this out yet, but this is a comment that I've made in the past regarding NCT Plus that I haven't seen Tri-City connected. And so I don't know if that's something that we could just get some more information as we're delaying the public hearing. So that way, when it comes back, if you all on staff could, provide us with a little bit more information, because I am curious to see the geographic area of this 323 seems like it could be small enough to even fit in some kind of a NCTD plus situation. So I am curious to see that information. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we, and Katie, please correct me if I'm wrong, one of the future phases of NCTD Plus is the Oceanside Eastern Core. So it would connect, sort of south of Oceanside Boulevard, north of the 78, and a good, the western parts of this route would be included in that, including the Tri-City area. So it is in future phases of NCTD Plus.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm just, I feel like to make a really good decision about what that, because we could still shape the way that rollout is for NCTD Plus. I just think it would be good to maybe even see if this is a route that could be absorbed into NCTD Plus. But as you saw, I have constituents here that are really upset about the, the 334 being eliminated, which is exactly what I told you folks, right, was going to happen, because it is confusing to use NCTD Plus versus just having a fixed route. So there are differences, and we need to be better at communicating that and helping folks transition from one type of ride to another. But I am curious to see if this is an area that could be better served in the future by NCTD Plus and what that cost differential would be. Okay.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll add about the request to potentially delay the public hearing, and just the rationale for bringing it to you now, we have service changes typically 2 times a year. We wanted to gather enough public feedback. Should the board decide to eliminate this route, we would then provide the operators, we call them picks, they pick their schedules essentially, and we would just not include the 323 in that pick. So this would be all up in advance of the October service change. However, if the board would like to delay, I would suggest potentially the September or October board meetings. That will give us enough time to conduct the public outreach and then do that same process with the operator pick for the spring service change.
Can I jump in there real quick also?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Donaghy.
Yeah, I would just note that the rationale for gathering the public feedback now is very specific to, if you look at the system map, the 315 and the 325 are the most likely opportunities for us to reroute and cover some of the area that the 323 would eliminate. And in order for us to do that, we need enough public comment before we get to our October pick that Mary alluded to, which is sort of the precipice for why we wanted to gather public feedback immediately. I do think it's probably reasonable to push the vote off for a final decision that's at least August or September. But we really would need to make a decision on that by probably August or September at the latest, because that would provide us opportunity to move routes like the 315 and 325, which travel along Vista, and really cover a fair amount of some of those routes.
Okay, Board Member Contreras, you can finish your thought, and then Board Member Coleman.
Yeah, on that, Mr. Donaghy, just curious, in the motion, as it stands, do we have the ability to conduct surveys to the public and get that public comment? Or does that need to be integrated into the motion, even if we want to delay the vote, where we can start soliciting public comment? I just don't know what the legal parameters on that are.
No, I fully believe that we have the ability to go out as a planning team. I mean, we do it all the time to gather public feedback and information specific to routes that exist in the system. I'm not worried about that at all. So, I mean, I think the motion made is fine as is. We're going to continue to conduct informational sessions. It actually gives us a little more time to do that and reach out to some of the neighborhoods and see where there's some redundancy that might be fixed.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so just to piggyback on that, if the board votes today to set the public hearing for either the September or October board meetings. September, we could capture a little bit of that school ridership when some of them go back in August, some of them do go back in September, and we could also capture some of the potential summer ridership if it exists. October, puts us closer to providing the information to the operators, letting them know what the board's decision is, and then factoring that into the next service change. But that would give us more time to conduct additional outreach if that's the board's decision.
Okay, Board Member Coleman, and then one thing I was going to say is don't let me forget that I'd like to ask about the outreach. That's one thing. Yeah, thank you.
Just really quickly for my knowledge logistically. So once the public hearing is set, let's say that the board ultimately decides not to eliminate this route. What would happen next? Would this route have to be subsidized by another route or another service entirely, or how would that work?
No, so we factored into the budget that you just approved includes the existing services. And so should the board decide to eliminate this route, then we would be able to utilize those revenues in other areas. But if the board decides to keep this route, then the budget that you approved would stay the same.
Any other questions or comments before I ask Board Member Garcia and then Board Member O'Hara and Board Member Joyce also? Okay, so we're going Garcia, O'Hara, Joyce. Okay.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I forgot to ask, regarding the maps, for me, I'm very visual, so it'd be very helpful for me to see the route number XXX intersects here, intersects here, intersects here, and it gives me a better idea of what's the distance that people have to travel to catch those buses. So that would be very helpful for me up ahead. And you want to ask them? Go ahead. Okay. And then my colleague Jim and I were kind of messing around with the calculator, and for 17,201 divided by 365 is 47.
We only provide 255 days of service for
Okay,
weekday
that's what
only
we were
service.
wondering. Okay, thank you. I conclude my questions.
Okay, Board Member O'Hara.
Sorry, what would probably be helpful would be, for me at least, again, being a visual learner, it would be really helpful in answering a lot of these discussions we have, to have the other routes on there overlaid around it. So we can see not only where they intersect, but what areas those areas, because people are going from one place to another, and we assume they're exchanging bus route to bus route. And so if we knew what the overall effect was, like, we've got a route map here, but I don't know, I assume all this blue is not one single route, right? So I don't know where they're switching from where to where, and whether we're adding an extensive challenge to them, or if it's just a different stop. And I think that would be really, really helpful in assessing this decision. And then I think maybe coming up with some of those ideas in this presentation of where the surrounding routes could, either one of them overlap, or where they could put fingerlings in without adjusting their own routes, so that we could get a better idea of where we're actually losing ridership opportunity versus having, in my mind, I look at this, I think we're losing the whole route, and it's not really clear. Where if I knew the options of where they're going to overpass, we might only be losing a half mile of service. I don't have that in here, and that would be really, really helpful, I think, for everybody here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I do think, I'd like to see us look forward to how to work with the schools and work that in. I think that we've talked about that with Encinitas, and we're going to follow up with that. Question of clarification on Board Member Contreras' question. Are we not servicing Tri-City at all? Did I hear that correctly, or are we only just not servicing it with NCTD+? I was talking about NCTD+. Okay. Okay. And then if we did explore NCTD+, would that involve us to talking to Oceanside about their CSA and their ambulance services, so that we don't become the ambulance service for Oceanside and the surrounding area?
Yeah, we can definitely connect with them. I don't believe that we allow folks that are severely injured to board, our recommendation, if somebody, shows up at one of our modes, whether it's Breeze or NCD Plus, our recommendation is to call 911 and get an ambulance. But we can definitely make sure that the ambulance provider is aware of that.
Perfect. Appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Board Member Joyce, and then we'll come to Vice Chair Sanella.
I would just say that I do see other opportunities, assuming I'm reading the map correctly, that there could be ways to work this route in. So I look forward to that. I just want to make sure we have enough information to do it appropriately. So thanks for the support.
Yeah, we wanted to make the map as visually appealing, and so that's why we didn't include the numbers to make it clunky, but we can definitely provide a map to the board.
Thank you, Vice Chair Sanella.
Yeah, can we go back to the slide that had the ridership? Thank you. Is the 323, I know it's the lowest ridership on this list of bus routes, but is this the lowest of all the bus routes?
Among them, yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's the second or third lowest of all Breeze routes.
Oh, okay, so it's close to, it might be the lowest,
Yes.
or the second lowest, okay. Is there, as part of the district's analysis, is there for lack of a better way to put it, kind of a sweet spot for a ridership where there's a lot of fixed costs, right? Once you launch a route, there's a bus, right? They all have a bus, they all have a driver. The bus needs to be maintained. Is there analysis, like, what does it take? When does the number become so low where it just doesn't economically make sense?
The passengers per revenue hour is a really important metric that we look at to see if the kind of investment in service hours is really getting the bang for the buck that we want. And so that's why we include that in the service design guidelines, because that really gives us a good sense of if we're investing X number of hours in this route, how many folks are we moving within a given revenue hour. So that's a really good metric that we use and is also consistent with like state TDA reporting requirements and things like that. So that's a really good metric that we look at, and we want to try to have as high of a passengers per revenue hour number as possible. Obviously, fixed route bus is going to be lower than your coaster or your Sprinter rail services. But yeah, we want to see double digits in terms of passenger per revenue hour for most of our Breeze services, especially when we're looking at core and commuter services. There are of course other routes that serve kind of more of that local circulation need that folks have, and so you'll see those as typically lower frequency, providing kind of more of that coverage need, whereas on our higher frequency routes, we want to see that high passengers per revenue hour.
Okay, thank you.
Just one more question.
Board Member Martinez.
Thank you. What is the mileage of this route?
The annual mileage I have
No,
is.
just the singular route.
Oh, I don't have the singular trip mileage. I just have the annual.
And then compared
Apologies.
to other routes, is this a relatively smaller route?
Yes, very short.
Okay.
Okay, I have a few questions. Oh,
I just
okay,
have- I
Board
just
Member
had
O'Hara, go
One quick
ahead.
question. On the ridership comparison, this was, it wasn't clear in the notes when I went through them. Boardings, does that include them walking onto, the passenger walking onto each route each time, or is it with the starting point of their entire trip?
That is just the time that they walk onto the bus, not alightings, which is the time that they walk off of the bus.
Okay, but in between, if they change bus routes 3 times, is it
Yeah,
counted 3
then
times?
their boarding would be captured 3 times.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the clarification.
All right. It's my turn now. Okay, so I know we do a lot of extensive outreach, but one thing that I wrote down, and this is something actually even to our own staff on Tuesday for something else I was asking and curious about, is if there's a way to do, I mean, I see it all the time. So if our team could maybe look at geolocation specific surveying or messaging that we could do, just so that way in case folks are missing the opportunities when you all are out there tabling, or if we put it on our website and people aren't looking, or if it's on social media and they're not looking, at the very least, maybe it's an ad or something that pops up and they're like, oh, I didn't realize this was happening. So I just wanted to suggest that as another opportunity. Obviously, whatever pencils out in terms of cost, I feel like it's pretty cheap based on my own research of it. So I thought I'd at least throw that out there as an option. The other thing I was just curious about is, if there's a way to either send something or canvas some of the areas where folks are actually utilizing this service quite a bit. I think that's something that, again, for instance, our team is going to do for something else that we were discussing on Tuesday, just because I feel like, again, many of the people may not be aware. And, of course, we saw an example of that where you all did the work, but still, some folks will just fall through the cracks. So as much as we can to make sure folks are aware of what's happening, that would be great. Other than that, I'm obviously supportive of moving this to a later, having the hearing at a later date. It sounds like, from what I understand, and I'll have our general counsel and deputy CEO restate what we're discussing here and what that would look like in terms of timeline. But from what I understand, we could set the public hearing for September or October. I'll look to the maker of the motion and the second as to the timeline, but then basically the outreach piece is included in that based on the discussion we've had, so we wouldn't need to include that in the motion, from what I understand. Or would you like that in the motion? Okay.
It's not necessary. I
Right.
mean, we're going to do the public outreach regardless, and I think we've gotten really good feedback today from the board in terms of some additional things that the board is looking for in terms of the presentation, the mapping, and then also the outreach. So we appreciate that.
Perfect. I see Board Member Edson has a question.
Yes, thank you. I think the idea of geolocation, specific marketing is really, or canvassing is really great. But how do you do that in both Spanish and English or multiple languages?
For in-person canvassing and when the planners ride the system, we have bilingual staff that would be able to have those discussions in either language. So we would pursue that. In terms of any messaging that we use, like on our rider alerts or geolocated messaging, we would do that in both English and Spanish.
Okay, thank you.
And the only thing that I'll add on the outreach is the planning team, who is familiar with our routes, they choose, trying to get the most bang for our buck. They choose the highest ridership routes, they choose the highest ridership stops, but then we also make sure that we have a printed rider alert on the bus, for as much time as possible in advance as we can until the route gets eliminated. So even folks that we missed, there's an opportunity, if they're riding the bus, they can see that this potential service change is coming.
Great, thank you. So may I ask you to clarify the motion before we actually vote on it?
Yeah, so.
Sure. Oh, Board Member Joyce, sorry, I didn't notice your hand was up.
My question is, for setting the date, if it's set in September, are you going to be able to use enough September data from the ridership and the students? What's the date in September? 18th?
Yeah, so we will post the agenda, hopefully a week before that, and we will then provide the board with the feedback that we've received thus far. The public hearing does not close and is not until the board votes to close the public hearing. So the board, in that week span, we will still be receiving public feedback, and then any member of the public that wants to come to the board meeting and participate in the public hearing, the board will get that feedback as well. So we will have a good chunk of September feedback that we will be able to receive and that the board will be able to digest.
Yeah, if I could just add on to that real quick, I think what we're going to find on this initiative, which is a little different than some of our other ones, is the ask that comes back to the board will not simply be the elimination of the 323. It will include a reroute of other routes that serve that area to cover some of those high ridership spots, which we'll find through our public engagement process, which we already have. The heat map that you saw really shows where some of those ridership generators are. Those are the spots we're really going to kind of jump in on and try to hone in on. And I think what you're going to see when we come back is the 323 will go away as a route, but portions of that route that aren't covered currently by the 315 or 325 or whatever else is there will now be covered, interlined through some of those other routes. So I'm almost sure that will be what comes back to the board. So it'll be sort of a two-tiered piece, not just a elimination of a route.
May I ask when OUSD goes back into session? Because I know CUSD is August 19th.
It's late August, so that, I think that should be fine, just with the caveat that the ridership, I'm sure, will be kind of in flux for the first part of the year. And so while the numbers may not be settled until basically mid-September, just so the board knows when we come back, that kind of settles in the first couple weeks. So, okay, I'm good with September.
Great, thank you. And the second of the motion, the person who seconded is fine with that as well? Okay, great. Perfect. So we'll have Ms. Winfrey go ahead and just make sure that we read it back so we're all on the same page, and then we'll vote.
So the motion, as I understand it, from the floor, is to set the public hearing for September 18th, 2025, for the board to consider the proposed elimination of Breeze Route 323 and authorizing staff to provide detailed information to the public and receive and consider public comment regarding the proposed elimination of Breeze Route 323 in advance of the public hearing.
Great, thank you. So there was a motion by Board Member Joyce and second by Board Member Garcia. We'll go ahead and call a verbal vote.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? On the motion of Board Member Joyce, seconded by Board Member Garcia, to set public hearing for September 18, 2025, for the board to consider the proposed elimination of Breeze Route 323 and authorize staff to provide detailed information to the public and receive and consider public comment regarding the proposed elimination of Breeze Route 323 in advance of the public hearing. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. All right, we are moving on to the Chief Executive Officer's report, and today we have Ms. Winfrey standing in for Mr. Donaghy, so I'll go ahead and hand it off to you.
Thank you so much. So Sean, as you can see, is otherwise detained somewhere. So I'm going to review the CEO's report with the board and the public today. The first thing that I want to chat about is the bus transition. As you know, the board approved the insourcing of bus operations back in December of 2022, and we are well on our way to making that happen. The transition will occur this Sunday at 3 a.m., and we will be bringing in nearly 400 direct employees of NCTD at that time. We're very excited to welcome our new employees, a lot of them back to NCTD. They were employees of NCTD up until from the beginning of operations 50 years ago to around the 2010, 2011 time period. So it's a really exciting time for us here. I really would like to thank all of our staff. We've all been working very diligently to make this happen on kind of in a shortened timeline. As our CEO came in and said, you know, we really need to make this happen sooner rather than later. And so we're excited to make that happen. I really do want to provide a lot of kudos to our bus operations team. A lot of them that are sitting out here today, some of our operators are out here. I see some familiar faces from the floor. Our HR team has been working very diligently to onboard nearly 400 people, and our payroll staff, Yoon and her team, have been working very hard to get everyone set up in payroll. So I really am excited about this. I know we all are, and we just want to say welcome home to our employees on the bus operations side in our 50th year of operation. It's very exciting. If you want any more information, I think we are going to have some welcome home events on the 3rd of July. And if you'd like more information about that and would like to be present, please touch base with myself or Mary. The second item I just wanted to mention is the San Diego County Fair. We have our Fair Tripper that's been launched again this year, which is providing riders with the admission to the fair and the shuttle and an opportunity to ride coaster to Solana Beach and be dropped off at the fair. And we're doing really well. Right now, our season-end stats are not obviously available, but we will come back to the board with a marketing update on our statistics for that. But it looks like it's going quite well. We have had pretty strong usage. The third thing I just wanted to mention is we had the opportunity to partner with the Community Transportation Association of America, and our bus operations team pulled together our buses and some of our staff to assist with another bus rodeo. And we were able to partner with them and received some accolades for the work that we did associated with that event. And so that was quite exciting. I think we have another rodeo coming up later this year, which will provide more information as we get closer to that time. Couple of community events I wanted to highlight. We've had NCTD staff out at the San Marcos Resource Fair at the State of the City. provided information about NCTD Plus and other things, and it was it was received quite well. We also participated in the Vista City Council and Environmental Commission and the Vista Strawberry Festival, which was also a lot of fun. And we, at that time, we provided information on the NCTD service zone and were accompanied by Board Member Contreras and Assembly Member Lori Davis. So that was another event that we participated in. We do have a couple of important upcoming events that I just wanted to mention. The Del Mar Races starts on July 18th. We're offering our Pony Express Pass again this year. Similar to the Fair Tripper, it will provide a coaster service, your fare, or your admission, your entrance to the races, and then you'll also have the coaster trip down to Solana Beach and the shuttle to the race. So it's another good opportunity to experience the totality of one of our important events here in the region. And then finally, we do have Comic-Con, which is starting on July 24th. And although we don't have any special packages for that one, I just wanted to encourage everyone to take Coaster to Comic-Con. I think that's a good way to get there and back. So that will conclude the CEO report.
Thank you. I feel like you have to be lucky enough to get tickets to go to Comic-Con.
This is true.
You have to get them well in advance, right? So, okay. Well, board members, do you have anything to report? I see Board Member Edson.
Yes, I don't have anything to report. I just wanted to ask a question of Ms. Winfrey.
Sure.
So the San Diego County Fair, as you mentioned, is up and running, and I've served along on a committee that is the fairgrounds and all the elected officials it touches. And they've asked since COVID for the express bus from Escondido to be brought back. And I wanted to know if that has happened yet, and if not, why? And if so, is it good? Is it happening again well? And again, if not, will it be happening next year? Is there a plan to bring it back? There's a lot of if-sos and if-nots, if you followed me, sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a long day.
So I do not believe that we have the express bus this year. I know we have another route that serves those customers primarily, and I think it's been, the usage has been up as it relates to that route. I would have to speak with the planning team to see whether or not we're intending to bring that back for next year. I think it depends on a lot of factors related to ridership for this year and so forth.
Yeah, only thing I'll add, we have had a great partnership with the fair, providing the shuttle service from the Solana Beach Station. The 308, which is not the express, but follows the same route as the 408, which is the express. It drops off near the Solana Beach Station and near the fairgrounds. So those riders have the opportunity to utilize the shuttle service as well. But we can definitely get back with you on plans for next year.
What's the time, start to finish, for the 308 versus 408?
We will confirm and get back to you.
Yeah, I have to imagine that it's quite a bit of a difference with having rode the 308 and had those stops. It's quite a long route. So, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll go.
I just wanted to put in that we didn't use the Fair Tripper. My daughter and I went to the fair. We did use our Pronto card, and we took that down to Solana Beach, took the shuttle ride in, and it saved us so much time on parking, and it was fantastic. And so whether you're using the Pronto one day or the Fair Tripper, I highly recommend using NCTD to get to the fair.
And living in Del Mar, we really appreciate it.
I know. I'm like, thank you for that plug. Board Member Joyce and then Board Member Contreras.
So I just wanted to bring forward some concerns that I've heard from the community. As you may have seen, we had some pretty high-profile immigration enforcements here at Oceanside, and we have a lot of mixed-status families, and a lot of folks who utilize many of our modes of transportation are asking if they're safe using our modes of transportation, is immigration enforcement going to be utilizing those modes to find, track people right now? I'm not asking for a specific right now. What I am asking is for this organization to be very considerate about that and what's happening, and to be as transparent as we possibly can so that people can feel as safe as they possibly can. And that is just for everyone to know, as a member of this board, that that is a very present concern from a lot of our community members right now.
Ms. Winfrey?
Yes, I certainly, we're aware of the concerns and are very mindful about that. It's a little bit of a difficult situation, that we're in as a public agency that is a recipient of federal funding. So we're trying to be very, cognizant of that and mindful of our community as well. And so we're not actively engaging in anything related to this issue, but we're just monitoring. And at this point, we haven't had any issues, thankfully. But we're, not engaging with it, but we're also just monitoring and ensuring that, we're being mindful on both sides of this equation for a lot of different reasons. The policy of NCTD is to not engage, to not participate. I think our Sheriff's TSU unit also has, similar, yes, exactly. And so I think, at this point, if we have something like that occurs, we just call into dispatch and, report, but we're not engaging at all. So that's where we are at the moment.
If I could add on to that a little bit, I think the difficulty, and I've dealt with this at other agencies that I worked at, specifically in Texas, because we operate in the public sphere, law enforcement, both locally and at the federal level, have the ability to maintain their presence in our public space. Our instruction has been to not impede or to assist. They do not have access to our worker facilities without our expressed consent and or some type of legal action to justify being on the property. But the majority of the space that we operate in is public and is open to all law enforcement agencies if they deem necessary to do so. But I think Lori hit the nail on the head. We have not, we will not assist in the sense that we're not actively giving out information or doing anything like that, but we will not impede anyone's ability to do those things in a public space.
Comment, if I may just respond to that as well, and then I'm happy to go down the line. I just wanted to say thanks for bringing that up. I had similar concerns that I had talked to Lori about a few weeks ago, and thank you for sharing what you shared with me. It was literally consistent with what she had told me then too. So I'm glad that you all got a chance to hear that as well. And of course, if you have further questions, I'm sure Ms. Winfrey would be happy to answer them. Board Member Edson.
I understand that our bus stops and our transit centers are public space, but you need a ticket to get on the train. You need a ticket to get on the bus. Does that change the dynamic with regard to people wanting to create some sort of actions?
It does not, because we do not require law enforcement locally to buy a ticket to board our bus to solve a public disturbance.
Thank you.
I think any further discussion about this, we should, consider agendizing this if the board wants to have a discussion about it. Otherwise, I think, we probably should just keep to comments only. Thank you.
Board Member Contreras.
Yes, I just want to thank Board Member Joyce for bringing this up. It's, usually don't give a comment during this, but I was, just second the comments that were said. And a second thing, I am curious about the NCTD plus performance split between San Marcos and Vista. That's not clear in the report. And I don't know if it would, I mean, there's a lot of different cells in this. So if you have to do San Marcos and Vista, it might make it even more unruly. But I would like to understand those data points as separate, but part of the same. But just to say, I think that potentially the conversation that we were having briefly potentially should be agendized, because it seems that there's a lot of, there's more statements to be made and more clarity to be had.
Board Alternate Coleman?
Yeah, just want to also say appreciate Member Joyce's comments. On another note, as we're constantly thinking about regional transportation agency collaboration, my boss, Council President Pro Tem Lee, is on SANDAG. I know you're on SANDAG as well, and others. Have you all thought about having an informational item on the regional plan? The EIR is out, I believe, for public feedback, and it ends July 18th. So I'm not sure if this is something that the board wants to even discuss, but I throw that out there.
Yeah, I think if we do want to have a discussion, our next meeting is, I believe, July 18th or 17th. 17th. So if that is something that the board would like to see, we would have to agendize for that board meeting.
I'd like to have a presentation from Sandag on their plan, even if it's a day before the public hearing closes.
Okay.
We can work with Sandex staff on an appropriate date for them to come.
It seems
with
like
regard to
as
the regional
long
plan.
as, yeah, it'll be the 17th. Yep. It'll be literally the day before.
They still have obviously more work to do
Yeah.
after the EIR is completed, but yeah, just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, not seeing anything. All right. So do we have any remaining public comments at this time?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have one public speaker for general public comment on Zoom. Ricardo Favela, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Governing Board of the North County Transit District. I'm Ricardo Favela. I'm a Fallbrook resident and a trustee for the Fallbrook Union Elementary School District. It's important to be aware of the current climate that our Latino and immigrant communities are enduring. Since the start of this month, immigrant communities have been under siege and have seen numerous immigration enforcement operations targeting Latino workers, fathers, mothers, citizens, asylees, residents, and non-citizens. Community members are suspicious of any activity that appears to be enforcement related. I know that in some cases, routine police traffic stops are being confused for immigration operations, and construction sites where cones are used to direct traffic are being confused for immigration checkpoints. There's a heightened sense of fear and distrust of all law enforcement. Families are sheltering at home as much as possible and taking many precautions just to get to and from work. Our summer school program at Fallbrook recently saw a drop in attendance following a perceived threat of immigration enforcement in the neighborhood. It feels like we're living through a persecution of brown working families. More recently, I have heard rumors of neighboring transit districts in San Diego and Los Angeles regarding some type of presence of ICE in their transportation districts. I think it's important for this board to establish clear boundaries between the NCTD and ICE. And thank you for clarifying some of those points. It would be great to see that information more clearly defined and available. This might be something you've already done, I don't know. But as far as our school districts, many school districts in San Diego have already updated their bylaws, their policies, and have made resolutions to clarify this issue at the moment. So I would suggest that a statement or resolution addressing which measures the NCTD will take in the event that ICE agents board a mode of transportation to check passengers' legal status, or if the agents are on NCTD property, potentially disturbing passengers. So that's my suggestion, making a clear resolution or statement for this regard. As you know, public transportation is critical for our working families, and your leadership to ensure the safety of our riders is needed at this moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No further comments.
Okay, thank you. At this time, public registration to speak on remaining public communications will end. And the next scheduled meeting is our regular board meeting, July 17th, 2025 at 2 p.m. And with that, we are adjourned.